What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Patreon. It is 2:12 p.m. here on the East Coast. In the USA, it is May 4th of 2019. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. Great weekend so far. So Bitcoin, quite interesting stuff today. A little bit of a pullback, some interesting news. So guys, we're actually, we're getting a bit of a pullback, but we are still maintaining this upper sloping price channel, or sorry, this upper sloping support line. And we're actually, guys, if you just draw a horizontal line, we're actually finding some support off of previous resistance areas, right? This previous resistance box, about right here, is where we are currently finding support. So things are continuing to be quite constructive, right? If we start falling below the upward sloping, this, short-term upward sloping support line, if we fall below our previous resistance, and of course, guys, really the last line of defense is this upward sloping support line, the lower support line here. If we fall below that, then I think we would find a lot of sellers, right? So again, guys, we're still maintaining this higher low trajectory, bit of an ascending broadening wedge, but it is still very constructive, higher lows, very comfortable. If you're a Bitcoin holder, very comfortable. Prices maintaining, sitting at the highest prices we've seen this year. Now, again, like I was saying yesterday, on USDT exchanges, 6,000 has been breached, or at least on Bitfinex. So psychologically, the market might interpret 6,000 as already kind of being breached. So if the USD exchanges breach 5,800, then likely I think we would move past 6,000 very, very quickly. And of course, guys, some analysts are looking at the volume profile, which I don't have up right now, which is coming in heavy, right at 6,400 or so. So even though I think we could retrace back up to the 236 from a macro perspective, from the highest swing high to the lowest swing low, coming in around $7,000. Well, I think that is possible. We will likely find some good resistance around 6,400, right? But, we'll see. We will see, guys. So also on the weekly here, still maintaining above the 50-week simple, right? Still maintaining above. And as long as we maintain above it, it's very bullish in my opinion. Things will remain quite bullish in my opinion if we can maintain above the 50 simple. As long as we're finding support off the 50 simple, even if we're finding lower lows along the 50 simple, that can still be positive for the price action, guys. Like downward sloping consolidation, bouncing off the 50 simple, that would all be very good. So even if we do sell off and see some lower lows here, if we remain above that 50 simple, guys, it can be very bullish. It can still be very bullish, right? So things are getting quite interesting. Again, this is, we're getting some more horizontal lows, some higher highs. It is a bit of an ascending broadening wedge, as I've been saying. So there is a chance for a correction. There is a chance that we pull back. Personally, I never really like upward sloping consolidations. They always, in my opinion, it just, upward sloping consolidations generally act bearish. Majority of the time, right? Not all the time. And right now, the environment for the crypto market is quite intense, right? So I still don't really know what to expect in the short term. I really don't know. Things are remaining bullish though. It's still quite constructive. We are maintaining these higher lows, right? And guys, we could still retest back to about, 5,200 or so and maintain this upward sloping support, and things would still be looking pretty good, even if we pull back there. And of course, if that happens, then we would probably, that would be a retest below. We could get a fake out below the 50 simple before coming back up. Just keep all that in mind, guys, right? So guys, I'm just looking at the past price action here from, the December of, or I guess the beginning of 2016, when we had that initial break, right? We had that initial breakout above the 50 simple. And of course, we maintained above it. Things were looking very bullish, and we were kind of just pressing up against our resistance. You see that, guys? See our resistance here? Kind of just pressing up against it for a while until eventually, we find a crazy wick. No, but then we eventually, rally. And right now things are looking quite similar. We're testing above the 50 simple moving average. And, we're looking, if we can maintain prices like this, right? You pop out of you pop above your 50 simple and you maintain above it and you test that resistance line. You see that? We could be doing something very similar right now, right? And I'm just, guys, all I'm doing is I'm just looking at this price action to show me what is possible, how this market behaves, how it has behaved in the past, and what I could expect. Now, I'm not going to rely on it, not at all. But what I'm trying to say here is if we can maintain above the 50 simple, and just test this resistance enough, eventually we could be breaking out, right? I don't think we're going to consolidate for that long, but we could be seeing something like this right now, right? If we maintain these prices, we maintain above the 50 simple, right? And we maintain and we start to press up against our resistance, eventually I think we would get a nice break. But that's all just hypothetical, guys. So yeah, I mean, overall though, I mean, in the short term, things are quite stagnant. We are finding on the 4-hour chart, we are finding a little bit of support. We'll see if we can get a bounce off this level, and if we do, we would be maintaining our very micro uptrend right now. If we can get a bounce off this, we'd be getting a bounce off our upward sloping support, and that would be very constructive, and we could definitely see some higher prices from here. So that is all quite interesting. Also, there is some decent news today, some interesting news. Carlos Matos is back in the news again. This is really what I was looking for. Bitfinex issues white paper for $1 billion token sale. Exchange plans to use money to cover frozen funds. So, this is actually, the initial exchange offering. This is actually the IEO, guys. IEO stands for initial exchange offering, and that is, of course, a way for. If you guys remember, like a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about that news article where they were talking about how lawmakers are having trouble because there's no set terminology for crypto yet, and terms are changing all the time. Well, this is another way that, people can navigate or get around regulations and all that stuff, is just changing the name. IEO, initial exchange offering. I'm sure there's different laws, or there are no laws, the laws behind the IEO and ICO are likely to be different, and this is how they can sort of circumvent, is the word I was looking for, regulation and laws and rules, is they just, change the terminology and claim that it's something different, right? And then, they can kind of get away with these things. And of course, Bitfinex wants to raise money to cover up the lost funds, which, not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea for them to do that at all. It's actually a great idea. And if they can pull it off, well, that would be fantastic for Bitfinex, right? It would kind of, it would take some weight off their shoulders. New York Bitcoin mining magnate accused of stealing 5,000 crypto miners. And this is an interesting one. Mysterious crypto whale unveils meteoric Bitcoin price target. So this guy has 7,000 Bitcoin, right? But the only reason people know that is because of his address. Nobody actually knows who this person is. Who knows if it's a person or a group of people trying to influence the market and influence people's opinions? Who knows what the reality of the situation actually is, guys? Truth is always stranger than fiction. But so 7,000 Bitcoin. This guy is $35 million worth. And this person, this anonymous Bitcoin holder, is essentially saying that he is predicting $50,000 Bitcoin price is on the horizon, which is not anything that we haven't heard before. But, it's interesting. It's interesting coming from a whale that holds 7,000 Bitcoin, I mean, in order to own 7,000 Bitcoin, I'm sure you have to have some sort of opinion along these lines anyway. But this anonymous Bitcoin holder said, I think we will see 50,000 Bitcoin in the next 3 to 5 years, right? So guys, think about that. Think about how long term that is, 3 to 5 years, right? Now, I mean, who knows if this is true or whatever, but 3 to 5 years, guys, that is a long time, right? And now you guys understand, right? Why I have so much patience. I try to tell you as much as I can. Markets take time, right? And some of you guys were talking about that yesterday. Saying, look, so one of our patrons had a nice comment here saying, look back after several months of accumulation. Your strategy is quite practical in this market, calm and logical. Buy low is important considering the long term. Exactly, guys. And by the way, you guys had some awesome comments yesterday, a lot of long comments. I read them all. It was really nice to see what you guys were up to. I can't read all these comments though. They're all very long. I would be spending 20 minutes alone just reading these comments, but Pippi had this nice comment here. Your strategy is quite practical, calm and logical, buy low is important considering the long term. Guys, things take time, right? So it's not about FOMO. It's about being, logical, rational, being a realist, right? Some people would argue that just, buying in a lot of people really knock me for being a long-term investor, right? A lot of people will tell me that, I'm just like a blind investor, just buying into Bitcoin after we dump, and now I'm just lucky that the price went up. And I don't think so, guys. I mean, it is clear that Bitcoin is at a long-term growth pattern, guys. It is clear that Bitcoin is in a long-term growth pattern, and is most likely going to continue to maintain inside of a long-term growth pattern. And guys, I mean, I don't want to just sit here and talk about myself, but, I was very patient all year, right? I was, warning people that likely we would be breaking into lower lows and entering a true bear market, right? And that is what I was talking about all year. I was very, very patient. I have my track record on YouTube. You can see my track record of everything I said. We finally broke down, and I took advantage of the breakdown and I bought in, right? That's what patience is, guys. And guess what? It pays off, right? It pays off. So, and right now, again, you got to be coming from this type of mindset. 50,000 in 3 to 5 years, right? One of our patrons is more convinced that we're going to see $100,000 by summer of 2020, which I think is still a bit of a stretch, but yeah. So another interesting comment. This person says, "I agree. It's nice to have a voice of reason in this crazy market. Right now, I don't want to touch BTC with a 10-foot pole, not because I don't believe in Bitcoin, but because it's extremely unnatural for such a large variance of spot price of the exact same asset between various exchanges. It's the equivalent of paying $200 for a share of Apple stock on TD Ameritrade and $180 for that same share on E-Trade. I don't blame Bitcoin for these corrupt exchanges, but it makes me extremely skeptical of the price. Waiting for confirmation is definitely the best move right now, even if that means buying at a higher price to get that confirmation." And that is an awesome comment as well, Jason. And I agree, guys. Right. And I'm like I was saying yesterday, guys, yesterday's video, I was pretty on point with everything I was saying. Yesterday's Patreon update, if you didn't watch it, definitely watch it. It's probably more entertaining than this one. I just had everything, like in my head, like I was just on a roll. But again, if we do, I would like to pull back, whether we find support at this upward sloping support line, 4,200, 3,700, of course, this is very ideal to accumulate Bitcoin, but there's the chance that we break out. And if we do break out and we find support and get that confirmation off 5,800, that would be a great time for me to add. And I would likely do so, right? So I would definitely like to see the confirmation of real support at 5,800, right? I don't like to FOMO in at the tops, right? So yeah, guys, today's update is a little bit, less exciting than yesterday's, but definitely watch yesterday's update if you haven't. There's a little bit less to talk about. Oh, we have actually some more comments here. This person's talking about so those of you in here who are precious metal holders, I know there are a few precious metal holders in the Patreon group, and wanted to point out that silver is in the $14 club again. Although it had a small pump today. If you're sitting on the sidelines waiting to see how this plays out, don't forget about gold and silver. They're deflationary currencies, just like Bitcoin. They're dirt cheap right now. Don't listen to Tone Vays or Tyler Jenks nonsense. To stay away from precious metals. So many crypto holders and precious metal holders alike dogmatically stick to only one, but I am in the camp of folks that should hold all three: gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And yeah, guys, diversification is key. It's key, guys, right? Guys, the comparison that people make between, I don't know what your guys' opinion on this, but people compare gold and Bitcoin, right? And it doesn't make sense. It absolutely doesn't make sense. Bitcoin has a white paper. Gold is a physical piece of material. Bitcoin has a white paper, and gold is from the earth. It's a little different, right? It's a little different. I don't think you can actually make a comparison. The only comparison you can make is a store of value. That whole argument, sure, but there's a lot of other things that have those qualities, or those characteristics rather. Comparing gold and Bitcoin, in my opinion, I mean, you guys can disagree with me. You guys can tell me that I'm wrong. Guys, I'm not easily offended. You guys can disagree with me in the comments. I really don't care. I don't think you can really compare gold and Bitcoin. Now, when you're talking about, diversification, gold, silver, Bitcoin, absolutely. It's a great combination, right? It's a great combination. You're sort of just hedging, physical assets and completely digital assets. I agree with you. You don't want to be just one. You want to diversify. Even though I personally don't own any precious metals, but I completely see your point here. Also, one of our patrons said that they bought a shitcoin at a tenth of a penny, and now it's at almost a penny. Nice. There you go. And then one of our patrons says that they're waiting for a pullback to accumulate more. Talking about the RSI, Stocks RSI, money flow indicators are all screaming sell in the weekly. And I think we get a pullback next week. Yeah, guys, if we fall below the 50-week moving average, guys, I am putting a lot of weight on this thing. If we fall below it, then it's going to get very bearish. Don't get me wrong. It's going to get very bearish. But right now we're above it. And if we maintain above it, that's goddamn bullish. Fidelity and Bakkt will be great avenues for investors who knows when they will even launch. Yeah, we'll see, guys. We'll see. The whole Bakkt thing, I mean, Jesus Christ. When are they actually going to... I'm not even going to rant about that. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's update. I know it was a little bit all over the place today. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed the update. I will, ask questions if you have questions, links if you have links to news or whatever. And I will talk to you on tomorrow's update. Peace out, guys.